So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the NFL season is officially over. 2022 is done for the year, and that means it is officially mock draft season. We are going to see a lot of mock drafts, a lot of different takes, and a lot of different players projected to the Detroit Lions over the next couple of months. And today, we found another article. It was a first-round mock draft by Todd McShay going over the needs for the Detroit Lions and how they are going to go about addressing those needs. So I wanted to take a look at this article, react to the mock draft with you guys, and kind of go from there. So with that being said, we are going to take a look today at the 2023 NFL mock draft. Detroit Lions grabbed two defenders in Todd McShay's latest. The Lions improved their defense front and their secondary in Todd McShay's latest draft. Myles Murphy was the cover for this, so I'm assuming, and it will be at number 6, the Lions take defensive end Myles Murphy. Now, Myles Murphy is a really big player, standing at, I think, 6'4". He's a solid size for the Detroit Lions defensive line, and I think that adding to the defensive line is the smartest move that the Detroit Lions can make. I think secondary is the biggest need, but I think the class is deep enough, and I think that there's a big enough need at defensive line to warrant building up the trenches further at number 6, right? Myles Murphy, 6'4", really good production. You know, pairing him with Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston, you know, it's a good idea for the Detroit Lions to continue to build that defensive line, right? You look at the Eagles from last year, they had 4 players have double-digit sacks. You look at the 49ers, who were in the NFC Championship, they had an elite pass rush. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, had a great pass rush. Pretty much every elite team does so with an elite pass rush, and Myles Murphy is a good pass rusher. I don't think he's quite as good as a guy like Will Anderson. I don't think he's even quite the pass rusher that a player like Jalen Carter is, but Myles Murphy is by no means a bad pass rusher. And just because he's in that tier 2 doesn't mean he wouldn't be a good pick or even the right pick. I think the Detroit Lions, just reading the article here, I think the Detroit Lions stick with Jared Goff and use this pick on a defensive unit. Considered cornerback, but Murphy was a higher graded than my cornerback 1, and the defense needs support at multiple positions. It could stop anyone last season. Not really true, but okay. Allowing a league-high 6.2 yards per play, very much elevated by the early parts of the season. Adding Murphy's speed to the offensive group. Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. To Clemson notoriously is a farm for elite defensive linemen. In a group campaign, no different. Murphy racked up 14.5 sacks and a whopping 22.5 tackles for loss over the past 2 seasons. Myles Murphy is a good football player. By no means is he a bad player. Again, Jalen Carter, I think, is better. I think, Will Anderson from Alabama is better. If Tyree Wilson is available, just because I think he has more ability to slide inside to more of a 3 technique where Myles Murphy really doesn't have that ability, I think that you're talking about him there potentially. But the idea of upgrading the defensive line and ideally having a defensive front 4 of Hutchinson and Houston and Aleem McNeil and starting off, of course, with Isaiah Buggs in the middle, and then adding a guy like Myles Murphy, having the rotation of John Kaminsky and Josh Pascal. That's 6-7 guys deep, not to even mention Romeo Okwara. You're building a pretty strong unit there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be upset if Myles Murphy was the pick. I think there are better options, but certainly not a bad option. And then we have, of course, a few clips here. Clemson's edge Myles Murphy is a player that NFL teams think Trey is. We're going to get rid of the audio here. We'll go back and start the play. Myles Murphy, of course, right here, just, blowing up the play and making a huge tackle for loss in the backfield. I believe that is on Jahmyr Gibbs as well, the current Alabama running back. So abilities to make plays for sure. He's right here, of course, with his power, getting the sack there. Impressive rep by Myles Murphy right here at the right side of the screen. I'm sorry. Shows good play recognition. And the ability to dip around the tackle first off, but also just the play recognition to get out on the screen pass. So I think it really does show, what we would be getting. Somebody that is a good playmaker, somebody that has athleticism, has bend, has production, has the ability to rush the passer as well as be efficient in the running game. And while I don't think he's necessarily the best option there, if he's available at 6 and the Lions take him, I think it's a good option to boost the defense. And then you have pick 18, Kelee Ringo. As it says early in the draft process, Ringo was hailed as someone who could be Detroit's pick at 6th overall. However, struggling in the SEC championship game and the semifinals, Ohio State's talented wide receiver core dropped significantly among this year's deep cornerback class. And that is true. Ringo is 6'2". He's about 215. He's incredibly physical, has phenomenal speed. I would be shocked if he doesn't run at least a low 4.4, if not a high 4.3. And he has good hands. He is fairly sound at his technique. He's a good tackler. He's physical. I think he is the exact kind of cornerback the Detroit Lions want, and I think he will go very early in the NFL draft. He did struggle against Marvin Harrison Jr. Admittedly, he had a very rough day, but so did everybody else. I think of it as a very similar situation to what happened to AJ Terrell in the national championship versus Jamar Chase. It's like, yeah, he got beat versus Jamar Chase, but so did everybody else, and so does everybody else in the NFL. And then AJ Terrell turned out to be a pretty good safety or a pretty good cornerback. So I think if we're going to really grade him off of one game, there are other examples of cornerbacks who struggled in one game versus elite wide receiver prospects and turned out to be pretty good in the NFL. So I'm not too concerned about that. As I said, Ringo has fluid hips. He has 4.3 speed. He's 6'2", 215. He is not afraid to tackle. He is not afraid to hit. He is not afraid to go for that football. I believe he even forced a fumble in that semifinal game, which is, kind of showing that he goes after the football. And he's not necessarily my cornerback 1, but he has the opportunity to be cornerback 1 in this class. He has the size, he has the frame, he has the skills, he has the speed, he has the hips. He is a great cornerback prospect. And I think adding him to the Detroit Lions would be a great pickup at pick 18. And honestly, I don't understand why so many people are down on him. Yes, Joey Porter and Christian Gonzalez have, I think, better arm length. Devon Witherspoon, I think, is more flashy and has better ball skills. But Ringo is bigger than all of them, is faster than all of them, is by no means scared to hit or tackle or rip at the football, and by no means has poor ball skills or has trouble finding the football in the air. Kelee Ringo, for a large portion of the 2022-2023 season, was looked at as the best cornerback in this class. And I'm not going to put him down at cornerback 5 or 6 because he struggled versus probably the best wide receiver prospect since Jamar Chase and maybe the best wide receiver prospect ever. Just reading some of the reasoning, there will be a lot of opinions about his game, but Ringo has a lot of upside. He has speed and length. He's very good as a press coverage corner, which is what the Lions like to do. They like to run a lot of man coverage and a lot of press coverage. Plus, he hauled in 2 interceptions in each of his seasons at Georgia. Jeff Okudah flashed the trait that made him number 3, but even if he takes the next step, Amani O'Roy is a free agent. Yeah, I think pairing him with Okudah would be great. We'll look at this clip, right? He's very patient, has good hips. Does not let the wide receiver get anywhere near away from him and comes away with the interception by finding the football, right? This is... you can't play this any better. You can't play this rep any better. He's patient. He watches the hips. He doesn't get beat deep. It is a perfect cornerback rep, and he does this a lot. he does this over and over and over. And, as it says, despite his size and weight, he is, I think, the fastest cornerback in this class. And by the time the combine comes around, he is going to be at least a top 20 pick. He's an elite athlete. And as it says, production, 15 pass breakups and 4 interceptions over 2 years while being a shutdown cornerback. So, it says leaves you wanting more. I don't think so. 15 pass breakups in 2 seasons is pretty good, and 4 interceptions over 2 years is better than most of the production we're seeing from the rest of this class. So the production's fine. The size is fine. The size and speed are great. He's an A-plus athlete. I think Kelee Ringo would be a phenomenal pick for the Detroit Lions. But with all that being said, that is the 2-round mock draft. Those are the 2 players that are being projected to the Detroit Lions right now. I'd be very curious to you guys think about this. If we added these 2 players, what would you think? If not these 2 players, what other players would you like to see the Lions add? I'd be very curious to you guys think. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.